What's up, world? It's your boy, Mike Muse. Welcome to the Conversation, the Mike Muse Show. I am super excited to be in conversation with my next guest. I don't even know how to describe this individual. This man is responsible for all good things that I love. This man has created so many fantastic properties that just makes me feel good. And just as I always talk to audience about music, it's a soundtrack of life, and music is the soundtrack of my life. There's something about this gentleman where he's been able to make television and film and now music too as well a part of my life in a way that is so unique, and it's rare that individuals have that opportunity to do this. I usually give this designation to artists who paint, who draw, who take photographs. I even usually give this title to those who collect art. But this one I'm going to give to Kenya Barris. I look at him as the custodian of culture. And so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the incredible, the talented Kenya Barris. What's happening, my friend?
What up, man? How are you?
Good. How you feeling today?
I'm good.
Good. Man,
Thank you for that intro.
Yeah, no, I was just kind of thinking about you on the way over here, right? And I was like, how would I describe him? And one word that just kept coming to mind was culture. Like just inside and out, from girlfriends to grownish to mixedish to blackish to even the Wizard of Oz that you're doing, to the current Netflix one that you're promoting, Entergalactic. You just have such a stronghold on culture. And that's not that easy to do, right? For it to come off as authentic as it does, especially in Hollywood when so many hands get involved. Like, how have you been able to keep us a keen eye on culture?
I think I just live in it. You know what I'm saying? And I think so. I'm just telling stories about from the place that I'm living in. I think my kids have been a really big part of it. You know what I'm saying? Because you constantly are telling things, stories that you know. I think, places that I grew up, you know what I'm saying, and things like that. Those are the things that you like harken back to when you want to, be cathartic and tell a story that feels honest. And I think that's the thing that I just want to tell it from an honest place.
Yeah. So what was it about? I mean, you said your children inform you, right?
Absolutely.
What was who informed a young Kenya when you were growing up? Like, what was informing you to shape you to the space where you have such a creative pen now?
I think I had a lot of like trauma, you know what I'm saying, growing up. I think a lot of kids, you know what I'm saying, growing up in a situation. I think that was you find ways to escape that trauma. You find ways to sort of things that are books took me away from a lot of the stuff I was going through. Jokes took me away from a lot of stuff I was going through. Getting in trouble took me a lot of stuff away from stuff I was going through. So when you get to a point where you start shaping your own life and it's not so much driven by your circumstances or your parents, I really wanted to shape my life to not look like the life that I had grown up in. You know what I'm saying?
That's interesting that you said jokes, took you away. I always talk about that a lot, particularly within education around the realm of sometimes a kid that is voted the class clown, sometimes he's hiding or they're hiding something.
I was always a class clown.
Yeah. But then that holds true. And then that was something you were hiding, right? Like trying to escape the trauma. So you use like joke and laughter as escapism.
I think behind every comic, there is not every comic, I'd say a huge amount of them, there is unbelievable trauma and sadness. That's why you see the drama and tragedy and comedy faces together. You know what I'm saying? Because they're just different versions of the same face.
Sometimes it's birthed out of pain.
Yeah,
right?
No, a lot of times it is. I did the Richard Pryor movie, and it was, arguably he's the greatest comic of all time. And we hear the stories. It's amazing he could walk and talk. You know what I'm saying? He grew up in a whole house with his grandmother being the madam and his dad being the bouncer, his mom being a hoe, and in a very poor situation, and look what he became. And at the same time, look at the stuff that followed him.
Yeah.
So,
Because that could have took a different trajectory, right? Like you think about somebody like Richard Pryor, who was like even like raised and born in Peoria, Illinois, outside of Chicago, his rural town, with that biographical details you just mentioned. We're looking right now at the unfortunate murder of PNB, and you look at who was behind it. Like it was a stepmother, a father, and a son who was 17 years old. And so I was looking at this space like I think
is that what happened?
Yeah. So far they arrested two, which is a 17-year-old son.
I heard it was random, right? Like they just happened to see him pull up or something?
They just so happened to be in a parking lot of Roscoe's. And so the father currently is on the run. At the time of this conversation, the father was on the run.
Oh, wow.
The stepmother was just arrested, and the 17-year-old boy was just arrested.
Oh, wow.
Right, Kenny? And so I was just thinking about the responsibility is on those parents. Like, they should receive the maximum punishment. And this 17-year-old boy didn't even have a chance, really, it seems, to be a full functioning young adult if you had those two parents guiding you. But that goes to the despondent directions that two families can take. Or Richard Pryor can go that direction. And unfortunately, you see what's happening right now with that young man and PNB and his family too as well. The trauma that they all are experiencing is really sad. But to think about that, is that what gravitates you towards the Richard Pryor?
I saw so much of myself in Pryor. He's one of my heroes, and it's sometimes hard to say that when I was doing the story because I saw all the fucked up shit, stuff he did. He was flawed, but I also feel like as an artist to be able to take, and anybody, what I'm saying, when you can take the negative stuff that you get and you are able to sort of metabolize that back into something beautiful to the world, like that is a gift.
Yeah, it's almost like finding like the silver lining of it all, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone looks for therapy in their own way. Like some people may practice some form of spirituality, some form of religion, self-care, therapy, whatever. But I believe some people really hone into their craft like Richard. And I see that within you. Like I look at you on Instagram and I see you're posting two things come to mind. So much fun. And then you post like your upcoming projects, and I just celebrate that because I look at the freedom that you have, right? And I think to myself, what's it like to be him, just to wake up and have so much freedom? Obviously things aren't perfect, right? I want to be clear with that, right? But we can have so much freedom and to produce and create things for culture and for Black people, like that is your job.
Right. I think that's a prime example of perception is not reality. Yeah. Because I do not feel free at all in any way, shape, or form. I feel free in the aspect of I'm a free thinker, and when I start to create, I'm going to create from a place that I believe in freely. But my day-to-day life, I feel like the more success that you have, you start realizing that the more responsibilities that come around that success, and that limits your freedom. You know what I'm saying? Like the idea of when you're just starting out, you can say anything you want. You know what I'm saying? You can say anything absolutely you want. When you get to a certain level of success, you can still say it, but then you have to worry about the consequences, you know what I'm saying, and how many people that is going to affect and things. One of the earlier situations I had is who's now a friend, but I mentioned Judd Apatow when Bill Cosby was going through his thing, went on a rant for days and days and just taking, shots of Bill Cosby. This is the time before we really knew all the evidence and all this. And I was like, yo, I get it. I was drunk one night, late at night, and I was like, yo, the show had just came on. And I was like, yo, I didn't know Judd. I was like, I get it. He's a monster. He's probably a monster. I was like, but you don't understand. You're taking kicks at somebody he's all we've got. You've got 1,000 Bill Cosbys. We've got one. So, you know what I'm saying? Like back off it a little bit. And and he says it exploded the next morning. And I was like, oh no, what have I done? You know what I'm saying? And I got a call from Disney at the time, and I was like, I was just speaking my mind and something I really do believe in. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have a lot of heroes. You know what I'm saying? And what he may feel like he wanted to sort of take a shot at was like, you're taking a shot at one of one for us. Yeah. It caused us, it actually made Judd and I friends. Like we got and we talked, and he had very good reasons of why he was feeling the way he was, and it wasn't what I felt, but I was not aware that anyone even cared about what I said. Yeah. I was just a person talking, and I think that's one of the things about the so-called anonymity of the internet. Yeah. That I think that the internet should be should come under some type of legal thing, because I think it's a place of bullying. It's a place of one person sometimes sounds like a million. You know what I'm saying? And like the idea when you can anonymously criticize people's art or decisions and things like that, and have other people join in and practically in some aspects destroy people's lives. I think that there is a responsibility to that. And I think that responsibility, I see it now more as we're talking about the freedom, because when you have a little bit more success, you don't have the same ability to sort of just say whatever you want.
Yeah. I think you go to something that I talk about very often is how dangerous Twitter can be, and how dangerous the internet can be. Twitter conversations have made things so binary, including the Bill Cosby conversation that we're talking about. The 146 characters doesn't allow you to have the nuance where you can say both things can be true. Both things can be true, that all these things were done to these women, but also to, at the same time, what he represented to Black culture and Black America at that time.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Bill Cosby.
Exactly.
And I mean, I feel sad that people will not see the Cosby Show anymore, because his crimes do not take away the genius of that show and what it meant to so many people who look like me and don't look. That was the first time I ever saw one of my white friends want the same father that I wanted. I was like, you want to be my dad? You know, like, that was like something for us. And he wasn't necessarily that. The stories that they did on the Cosby Show weren't necessarily Black family stories, but it was a Black family on network television, and that changed the way people looked at each other. And
but that's so to your point, like, that is the power of art, right? Mm-hmm. And so my friend Dominique Maruso, an incredible playwright, she said this to me decades ago. We were in college, and she said, Mike, "Sis, you can tell what society will be ready for based upon what's currently on television and in the movies 10 years from now." I think now the way that society is going due to big tech and social media, the generations now are getting much more smaller, the intervals of what we say generation is. But I always think now, and I'm just going to go on a hypothesis here, almost as if what we see now in film and television, society will be ready to handle in 5 years from now, right? So I think it's been decreased, but that goes to the power of art, right? Art hanging on the walls. I had a really controversial conversation at dinner recently about the riots that happened in Soho after, the racial reckoning. And I said that I thought it was beautiful how street graffiti was moderating social discourse, right? How you'll have this incredible messaging with graffiti next to ATMs in a Louis Vuitton store, but really getting to messages of capitalism, right?
That was Basquiat. But when he did it and a group of, white people said it was great, it was amazing. But if we do it and people say it's not, it's like who decides? You know what I'm saying? I was Kamal Bell did a thing We Have to Talk About Cosby, and it was a beautifully done docuseries. And at one point, they were talking about Cosby like he's been doing this for 50 years, and I was like, so hold on, and he was like young white rich debutantes. He was doing this. I'm going, hold on. This dude was raping young, white, rich debutantes 50 years ago, and nobody said anything. I was like, is this in America? I don't know. And I feel like the idea of I'm saying it like I'm sure he was doing it, I was like, but why didn't he go to jail?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was, so I'm like, there's a question behind that. I'm like, and things can be true and false at the same time. You know what I'm saying? There's not just one truism. So I like you said, the idea of how that graffiti can be beautiful or it can be looked at as graffiti. But if Andy Warhol buys it and says, Basquiat writes most kings die with their head cut off, it's genius. So I kind of feel like the idea of us allowing who the scions are and who are going to sort of decide what messaging means and when it means it, I think we have to sort of look at that.
Audience, you'll see this on YouTube, my smile that I have, but for those of you who can't see me, if you're listening to me in your cars, at home, or in your workplace, I'm smiling because I have never met you before, but this is exactly how I think, right? And I always, too, get into the conversation of who gets to decide what is art? Who gets to decide what is beauty? Who gets to decide what is criminal and criminality, right? I even look at another controversial, well, it wasn't controversial, but this polarizing topic of Tyler Perry, right? And so with the content he's putting out, a lot of Black Americans are so frustrated by what it is. And I was like, who are you to determine what is art, right? Like, if there is an audience for that, he's making millions of dollars, and I see people rent church buses, right, after the Sunday service to go to the movies. Who are you to tell them that they should not be seeing this, right? This is what they like, right?
I did an episode, it was one of my favorite to that point about exactly that. And Tyler schooled me, you know what I'm saying? And he not schooled me, he said something. If my mom legitimately enjoys Tyler Perry movies.
Same here.
Legitimately enjoys them. And because someone who's gone to film school, or because someone does this and says this is exposition, or this story isn't, this character's not defined as, that's fair. And they may be, in terms of what a technical movie or what we've said structure is, maybe they're correct. But does that mean that my mom's laughs weren't real? That her enjoyment of it was less, enjoyable than which you got from seeing Superbad or or this. And so I feel like, why are we not allowed to give this man his flowers? Because he has given some people, and they're not just liking it because he's black. They are legitimately enjoying it. You know what I'm saying? They're legitimately enjoying it. Just like someone might, legitimately enjoy, I don't know, The Bicycle Thief.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that might be their thing. But I feel like sometimes you feel like you're supposed to like things. And I've seen some people when they're supposed to like things. And I'm like, you're liking this because you're supposed to, not because you really do.
But I thought that's what a lot of your subjects and content, you study class in a very unique way. So I think a part of that too is class, right? And I think a lot of us who get, high society, I say high cotton individuals, like to become so classist, even with their own selves, that we're looking down on those who actually do enjoy. And it actually hurts. I just had a moment when you said, is my mom not supposed to enjoy this? I think about my mom and my father and the entire Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church in Lansing, Michigan, who goes to those movies to see it, right? And it saddens me that others think that they know what's best. And for me, like yourself, I love how we're both having this conversation as two black men, because just as you are entrenched in the art world, like even just recently I was invited to the renaming of the James Earl Jones Theater here on Broadway, right? But yet at the same time, I went to go see a Tyler Perry production in the King's Theater in Brooklyn, right? And so are you saying I don't know art? Right? Or there's range of us. And I love that when we allow us to have range, but again, supposedly we're not supposed to have that range. We're supposed to be of one thought. Is this why you are so into comedy, Kenya? Because for me, the reason I love comedy just as much as I love graffiti, I think comedy in particular is satire, and satire is difficult, right? When it's done right, comedy also too moderates social discourse.
We don't get to do satire.
But not satire, but
that's what I'm saying. Why don't we get to do it? You know what I'm saying? That with Black AF was satire, and people were like, but like that's an example. Taste, people talk about like race being monolithic. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a black person, this is a Spanish person, taste is monolithic. Taste is supposed to be like, this is what's good, this is what's bad. And I feel like that's the biggest bullshit in the world. Yeah.
I never heard it put that way. Taste comes off as monolithic, right? And that's not. Right,
that's the biggest bullshit in the world, and that actually trickles down into all the other stuff.
Yeah. So I only have a limited time with you. I want to be mindful of your time, sir. But you're here to promote a new film on Netflix called Entergalactic.
Yes.
I've only seen the trailer, so I haven't seen the actual movie. But the trailer is absolutely amazing in just the 1 minute or 1 minute and 30 seconds that I saw of it.
You have to see it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. But the way that the color of it looks really beautiful. I love how the animators drew the characters with such intent. It looks like us, right? But not in this very animated, cartoonish kind of way. I felt like I love when films and shows can capture New York City and make New York City almost a primary character. It is. Like within a film or a show. And it's
That's
done
a really
well.
big part. That was a really big thing for us in this. We wanted New York in the same way Woody Allen or Scorsese or this person, people have made Ben Affleck with Boston. You know what I'm saying? We wanted New York, and the backdrops and the bridges and the dirt and the gleam of windows. We wanted that to be a character. And I think the animators did an amazing job in pulling that off.
They did. And the music. Talk to me about Kid Cudi doing the music, the selection of Kid, and particularly Kid Cudi. I think Kid Cudi's had a really interesting moment, let's just say the last 2 years, right? And so I've been really happy to see this place. I saw a commercial that he did with McDonald's with their camp that they're doing, but it was so Cudi, right? And then like seeing him on this space, I was like, this is so Kid Cudi, right?
So it's interesting that you said that. Like the last few years, I've been a Cudi fan for some time, but he actually came. How we got close, he came and spoke at my daughter. She goes to one of those sort of ritzy, predominantly white private schools, and she asked if he would come speak, if I could ask him to come speak at her BSU, and he did. I was surprised, and it's 20 kids in that BSU. They moved the meeting to the auditorium. It was like 1,500 kids, mostly white kids, and they were crying talking to Cudi.
Wow.
And they were saying like how he changed their life, and when he was sad, I started thinking about it, I started really studying him. He kind of like pioneered like emo rap. People talking about mental health, people talking about like depression, people talking about love, the melodic nature, which is so, what rap is, saying now he was Travis Scott, I think Travis Scott is Travis Scott because of Scott Muscudi. I think that's the Scott in Travis Scott. And so I think that people, of our age, like we will see this, but his career, he is so much is derivative of him. You know what I'm saying? And he continues to grow even at this place. And so I think he was actually the perfect character and the perfect artist. And he also had a sense of like a prescient sense of like what was to come, because he held an album full of hits for 3 years while this was being made.
Wow.
At this point in time, how hard that is. You know what I'm saying? He's not, doesn't have Kanye money. He held an album full of 3 hits for 3 years in order to let this, come out at the same time. And that just showed you how much passion and how serious he was about this.
Listening to you say that, it just makes me think about how strong his constitution is.
It is.
Right? And so much how he's a champion, like the emo rap and emotion and mental health. I feel like Kid Cudi is a refuge for so many people who feel other. Mm-hmm. And there are moments when the internet can be good. And I'm thinking about the time when Lil Nas X sent a tweet out and he was like, there are no male rappers who want to do features with me. Black male rappers who want to do features with me. And I remember Kid Cudi responding to it. And it was like, I'm down to do one with you. Right. Yeah. And I just thought that was just so impressive to see him do that. But this is a love story, Entergalactic,
really
with Jabari. Talk to us about Jabari and this love story.
I mean, I think it takes this general formation of, guy meets girl, guy loses girl, guy gets girl back, in that rom-com love story kind of way. But it takes it and puts it in characters who are very authentic and very grounded in who they are and grounded in today in contemporary society, and it does it through a lens that's not an urban lens that we're not often able to tell that story in, because we have certain things that are specific to urban culture, Black culture, and I think that it really, I feel like it's something that people can look at and find themselves in, no matter who you are, your age, whatever. You will find a piece, something for yourself, and I think those are the best stories. The specific speak to the universal, and I think there is a specificity to the way the story is told that I think will speak to a lot of different people.
Why did you, as we close, why did you choose to jump into the foray of adult animation?
It was sort of chosen for me. I had done animation, but I did something with the Obamas called We the People, which was more of a PSA thing about voting and about understanding politics. I had been working, we're doing the Bob Marley animated movie for Disney. I'm a fan of Bob Marley, but this really influenced that, and that's a little bit of a different story. We came together, Cudi and I, we were going to do something live action, and the Mike Moon and Elizabeth Porter, who are head of the animation division at Netflix, really were explained to us like we were big fans of heavy metal, we were big fans of Moana, a big fan of some of those Spider-Verse. When you can merge music and animation, that can last forever. And it started making us think like, like we love Netflix, but sometimes those movies come and go. You see a movie that's number one, and then like you're like, remember that movie was number one? But like the idea, Bambi, my kids, we used to burn out. My kids used to burn out the DVDs and VHS because they'd watch them over and over and over, and they'd start to know every song. And my kids know every Frozen song, and my kids know every Moana song. So I feel like the idea of us being able to do that was an opportunity that we feel like we did not want to, miss. Animation is a new Spotify. I agree. I promise you it is. Kenny Barris, thank you so much. Thank you, for being such a great custodian of culture and really doing it so authentically. I see why others have tried, even some of us who do come from culture and who are the culture, they've tried to do cultural-based movies and it just doesn't hit right. And I think because their constitution isn't strong. Thanks, but man. I see why your constitution is so strong. You got to come back, man. There's so much more we can do deep dives on. I love that. We'll just sit up and talk. I would love that. All right, bro. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenny Barris, make sure you see Entergalactic. It is streaming now on Netflix. Until next time, folks. Peace.